Right, muckers. Well, this Fordson Super Major was produced at Fordson's Dagenham tractor plant, and that's where they were producing tractors right up until 1964. Then they got their new facility at Basildon, and eventually went on to produce, things like the Ford 7, 8, 10, and then eventually they went on to produce the new Holland line of equipment, which they are producing to this very day. Well, that's right, 1964, which means this is the 60th year of tractor production at Basildon. But anyway, I thought I knew most of the things that New Holland produced and most of the plants across the world where they were produced, apart from last year when I came across a bit of kit that I'd never seen before. And George and I went ahead to have a look at it, and we couldn't really figure out how it worked. So we went along to have a look at the first one in the UK, and, well, this is it.
Today we're going to find out how you take grapes
And turn them into this. What are you doing?
We're going to a wine tasting, you said.
No, I said we're going to a vineyard where they do wine tasting. We're in a vineyard, but we're not in
South of France,
yeah,
or
Italy, or whatever. Yeah. We're in Essex.
Yeah.
In fact, Crouch Valley. So, Andy, you'll know more than I will. Crouch Valley, vineyards, wines. How far back does that go?
So we, according to records, there was actually grapes grown here, and wine was produced, which was served to celebrate or commemorate the signing of the Magna Carta. So literally there's been grapes grown in this area for thousands and thousands of years.
So, up till recent times,
Yeah.
very traditional, which would mean that the grapes are harvested, hand-picked, and that's obviously very labour intensive, isn't it?
Yeah, the vineyard work there's a certain amount you can mechanise, but it's one of those industries where a lot of it is still labour intensive. There's a lot of jobs, like, for example, pruning, you can do a certain amount of pre-pruning by machine, but at some point somebody has to physically get in there with a pair of secateurs.
Yeah.
And the same with the harvesting. In principle, it is literally people going in, you pick the individual bunch of grapes, you put them in a bucket, they go to the winery. And that's the way it's been going on for, hundreds and hundreds of years around the world, but traditionally in England, that's how it's always been done.
Now, because your experience, the reason you're here as well, you didn't just turn up here, you were in France for how long?
Yeah, so I did roughly 15 years in France, working in Bordeaux and Saint-Emilion, small family-run vineyards that were producing, hundreds of thousands of bottles a year. And so I sort of learnt my trade there.
Yeah, so it's not as if you've just come here and thought, I'm going to do some wine.
No, it wasn't one of those. I enjoyed a bottle of wine and then thought I'd come and do this. So no, I've got experience of doing it across the whole procedure.
That then brings on the famous phone call. No, the famous phone call. Which was Derek here from Ernest Doe's. You were with another customer.
I was. It was a combine customer, so it was linked with harvesting. I think I just got back in the car after going to the customer about the combine, and I get Andy on the phone. We're thinking about harvesters. Now, me in my head, Why does he want a combine harvester? Not because I think this doesn't make sense. And then all of a sudden, it clicks. He's on about a grape harvester. So we get into this conversation, can you get one? Will New Holland bring them in? And all this conversation went on in the car. And I'm going, I don't know, but I can make a call. Ring Trevor White up. I went, I've got a harvester inquiry. What model? I went, it's a grape harvester. And he went, So we get on this conversation and I said, what can we do? He said, leave it with me. I'll make some calls. And the next day Trevor come back and he went, we need to go and see him because there's so many options and so much of this and so much of that.
Once we made the decision, that was early on in the year, we knew that we knew there was a lot we didn't know. And again, down to Brexit, we knew at the time there was a lot of stuff that was getting really hard to get in the country. And even though that was early on in the year, we had to if we weren't going to get the machine, we were going to have to plan for labour, and we knew how hard that was going to be.
So, Dawn, obviously, You represent New Holland,
I do.
and your whole sort of ethos is to try and support not only your dealers, but the customer, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
And this must have been a bit of a strange one. You know, as I said, Trevor's sort of, he was a harvest specialist,
Yeah.
but not that type, not in this country.
Yeah, it was. It was obviously going to be the first harvester that we were going to get into to the UK, and I think also the fact that it was coming into Essex, which is obviously where New Holland is based.
Yeah.
I think that was quite a strong sort of point that came across.
You've got, let's just give an average bunch of grapes.
Yeah.
We'll just say there's 100 grapes, individual grapes.
Yeah.
Now, hopefully, sugar and acid right on maybe 60 to 70 of them. But there are some that aren't fully formed, some that are withered, whatever. But they all blend in and even out. So you've got, say, 70% of good grapes there, but you've got to take everything. Plus, when you cut, you take in the stem, the stalk, and all that.
So they literally they will take the whole bunch. It's good. When they talk about the winery, so it's a whole bunch pressing.
So you've actually got here in that plant there, you've got a 3-ton press.
Yep.
And you've got an 8-ton press. That's fine. So traditionally, what would happen is all they've cut and picked would go into there.
Yeah.
But you're not going to get 8-ton, are you?
No matter how there's always going to be a ratio of there will be stalk in there as well.
Yeah.
And then in terms of when the press is actually pressing, we're in the best will in the world, those stalks are going to mean that you can't get as much pressure as you would want to. Because of the method of picking, in theory, and what we have found in practice on certain varieties as well, is because you're shaking the canopy rather than simply removing it.
Yeah.
So the berries that are underripe
Yeah.
are not going to come off.
No.
So the riper the berries are, the easier they are to come off, and that's, you play around with the machine.
So your percentage of grapes that are spot on with that acidity and those sugars,
they are the ones,
you get
and
a
the
high
ones,
percentage.
they reflect more realistically what we're sampling when we're sampling through the year.
Now, this all comes at a cost. And to ballpark the figure, we're talking about £250,000 for a machine such as what you've got. That's kind of what you're looking at.
It's a huge investment. We're, obviously for us, we've got 125 acres. We process the majority of our fruit on site. So, in terms of economies and scale and so on, it's not an investment that everyone can make.
No.
It suits us really, really well, but there's no denying when you sort of break down the numbers, the machine will, literally have paid for itself in 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
So Andy, this harvester, can you just give us a little sort of brief description of how it works? Because the layman would look at that thing and just not have a clue.
We did.
No, we didn't. No.
Yeah, I mean the principle, they've been going for 30 odd years, and
there's been that sort of it hasn't really evolved. Well, it's evolved technology.
How it basically works hasn't really changed in all that time. Yeah. Obviously, there are improvements along the way, and it gets more technical. But the idea is that it goes over the top of the row of vines. So the vines actually pass through the middle of the machine, and then inside there is a series of concave bars, and they literally just shake the whole vine, the whole canopy, and then the ripe grapes fall off, and then there's a system of buckets underneath that are constantly rotating. They collect those grapes, they take them up top, and they distribute them into the 2 hoppers.
What are you doing?
You said we're going to go to a wine tasting.
No, I said we're going to a vineyard where they do wine tasting.
Oh well, I'm going to look smart while I'm doing it.
With this machine picks only the best.
Yeah.
Let's have a look how it does that, George. So as it goes over the vine, that's those bars you're talking about.
Yep, they vibrate, shake the whole vine like that. As it shakes, underneath you got all the cups
They're
are open.
in that position.
Yeah.
They catch every
Catch
bit of
everything, and then as it comes towards the back,
they start to close up like petals, don't they?
It's
wrap it
clever.
up and takes it up.
Takes it up to the hoppers.
You don't lose anything.
No.
That alone.
That's so
what
clever.
A bit of engineering.
Well, it is, isn't it, lot?
And they're flexible enough and pliable. They cushion as the grapes fall. They don't hit it.
Yeah, no.
They just cushion it.
They catch it nice and gently.
All the way up.
And up it goes.
Up to the top into these Holland
Hoppers.
tanks and hoppers. and any stalk or stem that has been taken with it gets cleaned and blown out, along with the leaves and stuff.
Yeah, just gets blown out the back. Right, Mark, I'm gonna get behind it, gonna get the crop coming, as it comes through the machine. So I'm gonna
Don't get too close.
Well, it can't be that bad.
Well, there's all leaves and stuff coming out of there.
Ah, it's only a bit of
Don't get too near.
It's only a bit of stuff. I'll be all right. I'll get the shot. It'll be a good shot. You wait. All right.
How'd that go in, mate?
Well, I got the shot. That's what it's all about. It's all about the shot, mate.
The state of your shirt.
It's kind of a bit different than being behind a combine. Combine, a bit chaffy, a bit itchy. I'm not itchy, but I'm a bit sticky.
You look like someone's tried to do a hit on you.
So the big question is, Andy, how do you make wine?
So,
A bit of a broad question.
yeah,
I know.
not
A
my
simple
specialist
version.
subject.
No.
In terms of, we've basically taken it from the machine itself. So we'll tip it into the big Dolab boxes. They will then get taken into the winery. Now, because we've got fruit rather than whole bunches, that will then get pumped straight into the presses. If it was hand-picked, so it was whole bunches, they would either then go through a further process that will remove those stalks, or they will get tipped into an elevator and then put into the press itself. So there's two ways of handling the fruit. That is then pressed out. This is the very quick version of how you make wine. It's then pumped into tanks. They then leave that to settle for a period of 15, 24 hours. They will then add yeasts. Those tanks will be racked off, which is basically where you remove all the liquid, leave all the solids at the bottom. That will then go through the same process 2 or 3 more times. You just whack it in a bottle, it's done.
Done. So was that?
Quick
What's
as
the
that.
time period with that then?
So we will the grapes that we harvest this year will be looking to bottle around April, May time.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So it's quite a
It's a
6 months.
good 6
Yeah.
months then, like
yeah, and there will be some wines we may decide that we'll keep in tank for
Bit longer.
longer.
Yeah.
It all very much again, it's down to the dark arts of the winemaking.
Yeah.
So, some of you may recognise YouTube's very own Dave Redmond from New Holland. Now, Dave, not specifically to the Grape Harvester, but New Holland products in general, it is all about backup, isn't it?
For sure, looking after the dealer, backing up the dealer, so the customer downtime, we call it uptime, is maximised.
Yeah.
Uptime in the field for sure.
But in this case, which is a very different case, this really did need very careful handling from both yourselves as the actual product supplier and the dealer and the customer at the end of the day, didn't it?
Yeah.
Because let's face it, what were your words, Derek? We didn't know anything about it.
We didn't, and without New Holland's backing, we still wouldn't know.
That's the other thing that I think was sort of baffled me at first. Was like, well, I saw this at the Doe show, that machine. I was like, how does it work? And then when we were asked, George and I were asked to come and have a look at it, it was just like, yeah, we want to do this. Because we've seen most tractors, we've seen most combine harvesters and balers, but this was, something. And I must admit, it's been one of the most interesting pieces of kit I have looked at for years, just to see how such a complicated looking machine actually makes a job so simple. This ongoing relationship that I've mentioned throughout, from the whole point of that first phone call of can we get a Grape Harvester, to the support from New Holland, to the dealer, and obviously you, Andy. It wasn't a case of once you got it and you're up and running, cheers, thanks a lot. New Holland, to carry on that relationship, have actually come here and chosen for their clients and customers
Yeah, so we produced this rather lovely red wine for them. We've got their own label, obviously featuring our wonderful harvesting machine. A large percentage of the fruit that went into that was probably picked with the harvester itself.
You know, like you say, the past 10, 15 years, you know, the vineyards in the UK have really just pushed on.
It will just become more and more commonplace.
People are looking for something different, aren't
Yeah.
You know, as you said, a different sort of variation of what they've been used to, the Italian, the French, the German wines, that English wines.
Making your own wine,
Yeah, no, absolutely. But yeah, cheers to that.
All the best. Cheers to that.
Cheers. Cheers to you.
Go, boy.
Right, Muckers, I hope you enjoyed that. What a bit of kit that was. I mean, like I said, I thought I'd seen most bits of machinery over the years, but that was just incredible. And to be fair, very well thought out and very simple. But who'd have thought that? English wine. But it's been here for thousands of years. So if you get a chance to see that machine and some others, because since then there's been some other machines brought into the country, go and have a look at it. And also, if you get a chance to try some of Newhall's wine, which has probably been picked by that machine, try that also, because that's rather good. Anyway, until the next one, Muckers. Do well.